funny.
Oh, is the show starting? Sorry, guys. I was just working on my diss track. Right now, what I have is 33% was low, but you've always been reckless. You're just mad you're not even the best quarterback from Texas. Is that anything?
What kind of beat did Tucker give you? Is it just piano based, or is it got some thump to it?
There's definitely, I mean, there's some thump to it.
Okay.
We found this weird jazz sample from like the 20s that we chopped and screwed, and it's gonna get funky for sure.
So when you want to release it, like Friday night, Saturday night?
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna wait for him to say something else again, and then I'm gonna drop this one, and then after that, the Michael Irvin track drops, and he's not coming back from that one.
Right. Yeah.
Whoever he is.
He could be anyone. Could be me.
The track is just called Ache Man because he's old.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, welcome into Only Weird Games. Again. We're gonna kind of have to start doing some of it again. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor is here after doing a whole lot of work on
for a whole lot of nothing.
I wasn't gonna say it, but I thought you might.
For a whole lot of nothing.
So we are today, I believe, gonna get to Nate's rookie minicamp thoughts. He was there for those. I want to know about him. I want to know about handsome Louis. Red Zone Lewis, as I will continue to try to make that happen. And Zay Jones is in town today, I believe, which is an ongoing, more and more relevant part of all of this. We've talked about the Chiefs maybe adding veteran wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
We got more Rashee Rice information today, and so if I am breaking any of this to you, that'll be what it is. It's some details. And I'm going to, for the second show in a row, start my portion of the show with everyone's favorite segment, Josh Reads the Internet. Is there anything that either of you want to put out before I read from the Dallas Morning News?
No.
Just go ahead, man.
So these are some excerpts, from the Dallas Morning News. Assume that I am quoting verbatim.
Sure.
Do not assume that it's all exactly in the same order it was from the story. I think these are the most important bits and bytes from throughout it all in a way that I thought made sense. So, via the Dallas Morning News, who obtained the, I think the actual phrase was offense report from Dallas police. They have the offense report from the incident allegedly involving Rashee Rice. So here's where the news story comes in. The report, obtained by the News through a public records request, said a suspect assaulted a photographer after luring him back to a downtown Dallas nightclub under the premise he was being hired to take pictures. Officers were dispatched for reports of an assault at about 2:30 a.m. Monday to the Lit Lounge and Phone nightclub in the 600 block of North Harwood Street near Federal Street.
I thought it was called Lit Kitchen.
Yeah, what did I say? It was Lit Lounge there, but you're right. I've seen it twice. DMN had Lit Lounge.
Okay.
Just verbatim.
Lit Lounge. You know, it's a kitchen, then it becomes a lounge.
It might become a lounge at around 2
a.m. Yeah, it might become a lounge. They're not really serving food at 2. Is that what I'm gathering? Sure.
That's probably the case. This is not a direct quote here now. Me saying the News confirmed that, quote, law enforcement officials, unquote, had told the News that Rice is the alleged suspect and that while the suspect's name is redacted, quote from the DMN, a description outlined in the document matches Rice, including his age, height, and weight. And here's a timeline from the Dallas Morning News.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Seth just rolled his eyes because,
Seth knows what's coming.
We're describing a descriptor that'll go well in society. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we've been here. From the Dallas Morning News, from the Dallas Morning News, from the police report is the exchange of information here, okay? The photographer was at an after-hours party at about 1:30 a.m. at the nightclub, but he left after a short period, the report said. At about 1:55 a.m., the, quote, suspect messaged the photographer on Instagram and asked him to return to the nightclub, the report said. Again, that's the report said is what the Dallas Morning News said. Here's the timeline from DMN. According to the police report, the photographer believed the suspect wanted to hire him to take pictures. When he returned, he was, quote, made aware of where the suspect was at by other members of the suspect's entourage, the report said.
Entourage.
The photographer found the suspect, who told him to look at Instagram messages on his phone, according to the report. The report does not detail what the messages said. As the photographer looked down at the suspect's phone, the suspect punched him on the left side of his face, the report said. The photographer went to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, a police spokesperson said. The law enforcement officials told the news the man had visible swelling on one side of his face. One final paragraph here from this story that is interesting, that was also added into the original story after I think we had finished Tuesday's episode. Again, direct quote from the Dallas Morning News story. On social media, doubt has been cast on the narrative in the hours since the allegation first surfaced Tuesday. Two civilians with knowledge of the incident told the news a verbal altercation occurred at the club, but there was no physical contact. Those are two civilians. Everything else was pulling from the police report. Those are the facts. I have done my job here, fellas.
Hey man, they weren't really fighting. I don't even know what was going on. I was getting lit, obviously. But what this tells us, ladies and gentlemen, is that we don't know anything. Which is great, Just a round of applause by everybody.
You worked pretty hard, I think, it sounded like, to get something from the attorney on Tuesday.
It's not
Thursday
coming.
Now with more details.
And it's not coming. I don't think it's coming, guys.
I think I would want my attorney to get something out there because
you would think.
I would think.
You would think, but I don't think it's coming. I don't. As I was reporting in real time during Tuesday's episode, which you guys did a marvelous job, I thought Tucker's getting too good at this, which is its own visual thing. Because I guess I got to be here on time. Holy smokes! But also, and Tucker, when we need the beat switch, just you know when to do it. Anyway, I don't think the attorney wasn't thrilled. He hasn't gotten back to me. I don't think he's gotten back to anybody. So I don't know when that statement's coming, Josh. I don't even know what the statement would be. Of course, this is a little bit of, and this is more analysis now, but this is obviously a both an unusual and difficult situation because you admitted fault to just about everything that we saw with our own eyes when it came to the multi-car crash of you and your friend allegedly speed racing on a highway in the middle of the afternoon. Are you going to admit anything here? Or were you there? Is somebody going to say something?
We also currently don't have any video of any sort. I imagine I'm frankly surprised TMZ has not found whatever did or didn't happen. That will probably determine some things. But
this is from Tyron Strong Chalk statement. We cannot comment on what was said to happen by a person who said the person who allegedly stated that they saw something.
Kind of where we're at.
I don't know if we're going to get that statement, guys. Now, the Chiefs, as I reported, have no comment. They're aware of this. They have their own research, their own, investigative team. Don't think they found much yet. Remember when we said, hey, man, why don't you stop putting videos out there of you running routes with eight felony counts on your head? Might need to go back to the routes on tape.
Yeah, I guess if you're only running routes, tweet out on tape, as many as you want.
Yeah. Might want to go back to running routes on air at a high school field in the middle of the day. So I don't know if the statement's going to come out from Attorney West. This doesn't. Seth, am I fair to say this probably doesn't help your plea agreement discussion?
Let me kick it to you this way, Seth, because here my funny joke in an unfunny situation from the comment section that got me just now is from Paz Lou that says, I love that this is the definitive podcast of the Chiefs dynasty run because you have a prosecutor.
Yay!
It's come in handy a lot, and a lot more than any of us were interested in it coming in handy for throughout the life of this and our previous podcast. But if you don't know, and by some chance you're joining live tonight to hear what Seth thinks, Seth is doing this show live from his law office in the great state of Minnesota, where he prosecutes. And again, that legal background has come in pretty handy for quite a bit. I also think it's maybe made you the angriest out of anybody, or at least the most disappointed.
Hey, if we don't say anything, can we get this? How soon can we get to an actual agreement?
So, okay, Mr. Rice, I appreciate you asking me that. Were you at that club?
I'm not gonna. I can't lie to you. I can't lie to you like that.
Okay. Do you remember when I told you specifically to not get into anything resembling trouble? Do you remember that?
Look, man, I don't know what they talking about. I was just
Mr. Rice, do you want a future?
I mean,
Actually, more immediately, do you want me to keep representing you?
I mean, everybody say you
because I don't represent people that lie to me, and I don't represent people that don't follow my advice. And if you don't care about your case, I'm not going to care more about your case than you do. And so you can get another attorney if what you intend on doing is not following my advice.
But so you had me on lockdown, man. Okay, I don't know. This is all.
It was a great vignette, but I'm glad that you guys both left where you did, because otherwise there's going to be a whole, you need me on that field, you want me on that field.
You want me on that field.
You can't handle the lit kitchen.
So the reason I'm so annoyed without even knowing anything, really. So I have reports like this come to me all the time. They come in the form of what's called under reviews, okay? And that's when law enforcement doesn't necessarily have enough out of the gate to charge someone necessarily. They're still gathering information, etc. There's certain things you look for in an under review. And none of this is groundbreaking stuff. It's corroborating evidence. Because people lie to law enforcement all the time. And so it's kind of tough. Well, this guy called and said this guy, threatened him with Thor's hammer. Well, I mean, we'll take the report, but I'm guessing it didn't happen. Who knows? Or maybe he had a real hammer and he just called it Thor's hammer. It's hard to say. So what you look for is corroborating evidence. Few things in this that come right out to me. What did the messages say? That's something that you'd think Mr. Punched in the Face, the alleged victim, I don't know his name, so maybe I'll just go with the alleged victim. You'd think that he would have told law enforcement that, and it would be in the police report. If I were the prosecutor, now maybe this isn't all that's in the police report, but if I were the prosecutor and I got this would be one of those emails or calls that would strain the relationship between the prosecutor and law enforcement when I say, seriously? Like, you don't have the messages? You didn't take screenshots of the messages between him and the defendant that would corroborate his story? You didn't do that? How many statements did you take from the multiple people who were there? How many, did you ask him what the IG messages were that he was showing to you? Were they your messages? Were they messages of the alleged victim to someone who he knows? What was the reason? Did you talk about motive? Did you talk about any of this? And it's just, so that's pulling out a frustrating thing for me too. Now, here's the thing. We might only have the one page. They might have it listed out as digital evidence. That happens commonly. So in my jurisdiction, your law enforcement reports, they'll have a bunch of information on them on the first few pages. And then at the bottom, they'll have a section for digital evidence where like the body worn camera, squad video, any recorded statements, those are all in there, and those get uploaded digitally to my office, and then I review those separately. So that's one reason I'm annoyed, is the report of, you want me to charge someone with assault based on this? Okay.
How is he lured back? That's
Well, that's what do you mean by lured? Like, what is that?
Lured.
And that's like using
Lured
the term
is a
lured. That's
a choice. That is a choice.
And that's okay. So he was told to come back. How so? What was the language that was utilized? Exactly what was said to him about coming back? Why did he believe he was coming back to photograph? Because anytime you hear conclusory statements in a law enforcement report, it drives me crazy because there's enough conclusory stuff that goes on in the field that you just tell me why. I just want to know why you think that. Why do you think lured? Why did he think this? Why do you think that? Here's the other thing why I'm annoyed. People say stuff or have their friends say stuff, maybe sometimes, that they think is exculpatory. For example, no, it wasn't anything physical. It was just an argument. Do you know what that does? It confirms some sort of altercation occurred. And so that's something you think is exculpatory, but it's not. It's actually, so I call people pro se defendants fairly frequently, not as much anymore since I took a felony caseload.
I don't
with
know what
misdemeanors.
That means.
Pro se people that are representing themselves, sorry. And so anytime someone's representing themselves, which by the way, don't ever do that. If you've got a criminal case, get a public defender, hire someone. Public defenders are generally really gifted defense attorneys the vast majority of the time. Anyway, when I talk to them, I get on the phone with them. I identify myself immediately. Hi, this is Seth Keysor with the Hubbard County Attorney's Office. Am I talking to blah, 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 blah. Hey, are you still representing yourself or have you gotten counsel? Oh, you're still representing yourself. Okay, well, first things first. I can't give you legal advice. Be careful what you say to me. Just be cautious about it. The way that I explain this to everyone is I'm not a bad guy, but I'm the bad guy in your case. And so even if you say something to me that you think makes your case better, you actually might just be convicting yourself to the prosecutor. So please don't do that. That's like verbatim. I've said that hundreds of times. People that were there, civilians, which I don't know, who are the civilians? For example, are they known acquaintances of the photographer? Are they known acquaintances of Rashee Rice? Because, oh no, it was just verbal. Here's the other little elephant in the room. Now, law enforcement, generally speaking, we didn't hear anything about photographs of the alleged victim. Generally speaking, being able to observe swelling or visible bruising, that sort of thing. Generally speaking, and you got to be careful about how these types of things aren't always testimonial necessarily because you need an expert, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to tell the difference between a little bruising that got picked up in a scuffle and someone being punched in the face. It's actually fairly evident, generally speaking. Not all the time, about 95% of the time. Here's the problem. If someone has some swelling, that's indicia that something happened. And so, okay, something happened. We don't know what, but something happened. So we put a pin right there. Something happened. Okay, well, hey, it wasn't a physical fight, just a verbal. Okay, but something happened. We're going to put that back in the something happened category. Are there messages that show something happened? No. Okay, you were there? Okay, something happened. There's a bunch of evidence that something happened. And so I say all of that from a prosecutor's point of view of why I sound so annoyed. I'm annoyed as a prosecutor. I'm annoyed as a defense attorney. His attorney has to just be irate with him because it's like, man, I said things about you in public. I've probably made in my career about 50 of my clients cry when I was on the defense side of things. And it's always because I was yelling at them. And the line I always said was, I have to be the world's foremost expert on you. Because otherwise, other people learn things, and then I look like an idiot, and the only reason I care about that is because that shoots my credibility to crap, and when I tell the court something about you, I need them to believe it. Like, oh, I don't know, you're a fine young man who would never have anything like this ever happen again. I need to be believable when I say stuff like that. And if you're out here doing whatever, it makes it impossible. And you know what? I'm going to address this. We got a comment from H. Innocent until proven guilty. Yes, in a court of law, you are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. However, the NFL is not a court of law, And public opinion is not a court of law. And both of those things are wildly important to someone's case. And just because you've got this finalized result that they might not be able to prove down the road doesn't mean that it might not cost you. And it is just innocent until proven guilty doesn't mean that you ignore evidence that would lead towards something happening until that moment. It affects conditions of release. It affects all sorts of things in people's lives as their cases are pending. You know what else it affects? What potential plea offers you might get in another case where, hey, he was never officially charged with anything. Prosecutors, let me just tell you, if I'm prosecuting someone for multiple felonies, and then they show up in another police report, even if we don't have quite enough to charge, you bet your bottom dollar that goes into what plea offer I'm going to make. Because one of the reasons that I'll give someone a break is because people screw up. There's room for grace and redemption and growth. But if someone doesn't care, I'm not going to care. 10 years in the legal field, I'm not going to care about someone's life more than they are. And that's where I'm so annoyed with him right now that he was even there. And so maybe it all turns out to be nothing. Maybe all of it's a big lie. No idea why someone would do that. Oh, to get paid. That's not really how the legal system generally works. In a simple assault, you're probably not going to get paid that much, honestly. But it is just one of those things in terms of, if you look at the police report, it looks like something happened. And you are not in a position for anything to have happened. Even a stupid verbal altercation with someone who's being a jerk at the club. What are you, 12? Someone said something you didn't like? Well, I gotta hit him. Like, my kids learned not to hit when they were 5. Or get in someone's face, yell at them, that kind of crap. You don't get to live like that. You want to live like that? Go be broke somewhere. You want to make a lot of money and be a professional? You don't get to hit. You don't get to yell. You don't get to scream unless it's like, you get to yell at your coach during the Super Bowl. But that's very different. You don't get the benefit of a doubt. You got to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law, but you have shot your benefit of a doubt to crap. And that's why I'm so irritated right now. It's so dumb. Just being there. Like, you know how many, I didn't get accused of anything on Sunday night. You know why? Because I have what's known as an alibi. I was sleeping at home with my wife and kids because I'm a human adult who understands that the way I live my life is going to directly affect what comes out of my life. Anyway, so I've done the lawyer thing, I've done the prosecutor thing, the defense thing, and then the dad thing. Now I'm done ranting.
The biggest issue is, without knowing all the details, which we have to say again, we do not know all the details in this, is it's a terrible thing for credibility and perception moving forward for Rashee Rice, whether he actually was there and left before this altercation occurred, or he was there and he was involved in this altercation with the photographer. Again, I think it's a choice to use lore. Maybe we'll find details as to why so-and-so, why the photographer was lured back to the establishment if he left already, and of course, he's got civil suits, he's got federal, charges, and with his lawyer, we believe, working on his behalf to get him 0 time in prison. The deal is not as strong as it was, say, Friday, when he may have had another conversation with law enforcement. So, guys, the Chiefs OTA portion that's open to the reporters is in 2 weeks. I don't think we're gonna see Rashee. I'm just gonna. That's all voluntary. It's all voluntary. It's all voluntary. It's voluntary.
Yeah. Does that mean an invite can be rescinded?
Maybe if he wants to get out of Dallas, because
the Chiefs should probably want
Dallas a little hot right now, apparently, for Rashee Rice. But I don't know if we're gonna see him. And so he's got, time, and that could be sometimes a benefit, that can sometimes be a bad thing. But this is not ideal for, as Seth said, the benefit of the doubt. How the league will view him, and from a perception
Albert
standpoint,
Breer is tweeting about you again. That's bad. That is because that affects how the league deals with you. Fair or not fair, because people can say, well, this person only got this suspension and this person only got this. Doesn't matter.
Lord.
It just doesn't. The league is going to utilize public perception as part of what
Against
they do.
You. Yes, of
yeah,
course.
That's just how it works. That's the only reason they get involved in this stuff is because of public perception. It's the shield. That's one reason why I'm actually not a big fan of people's employers getting involved in criminal matters, because I personally think that people should be able to work even after committing crimes. Like, you got to be careful what, you have 10 thefts. Let's make you a bank teller. Like, you be cautious, but I don't want people's lives to end once the criminal justice system is finished with them. That's like the opposite of what we're trying to do there.
Right.
But I understand that when you are a public group, or a public-facing commodity in business like the NFL, that public perception does matter. A lot more people care about how these people that are propped up as heroes and are cheering on, how they're perceived, as opposed to someone who's washing someone's car or putting up their, doing their drywall or their plumber or their electrician, basically all construction trades. I mean, people just don't generally care as much there. But it just is, I'm just very frustrated by the whole thing. And maybe it does turn out that he wasn't even there. It is interesting the fact that, well, no, it was just a verbal altercation. Between whomst? It's an interesting thing to throw in there. And so
I'm not a lawyer, but if I was accused of starting a fight and assaulting someone at a place I wasn't at, I would want my lawyer to get that out before 48 hours went by or whatever.
Yes, dude wasn't even there.
Like, hey, sorry about the car stuff. Lot to figure out there. I was not at this place.
Hey, man.
He was live streaming a Madden game. Whatever.
We ain't heard him, and I don't know when we're going to hear him. Him being Royce West, the attorney. So, the way this was supposed to work, had Sunday's events not occurred, as we have understand them now, is, hey, you take that 8-game suspension, you give up a lot of money, and you're not in prison. So I don't know how much that affects moving forward. Obviously, we'll learn more as we go. But
how prosecutors treat you, and every state is different. I don't know what their sentencing guidelines are like. In Texas, they might not have as much discretion on how. But I can just tell you, as a prosecutor, there are two types of people that come across my desk. People that have done something, leaving aside the issue of innocence, guilt. Like, I mean, let's talk about people that are guilty and how I view them. People that have done something bad, genuinely bad, not just a mistake. Slapping your wife around isn't a mistake. It's a genuinely evil thing that you did. But there are people that did something bad and want to do better. And then there's people that don't really seem to care. And from my perspective, there are a lot of time, energy, and resources that are spent on rehabilitation for the people who want to do better. But those resources are finite. It costs treatment, counseling, those things, they cost a lot of money. And so those resources are finite, and so they get used on people that want to do better. So me as a prosecutor, if I've got someone who doesn't seem to want to do better, rehabilitation isn't as much of an option. So you know what the only thing I can do then is protect society. And as dumb as that sounds for like one punch and one street race thing, people, if that's what happened here, people have gotten hurt, man. And at a certain point, you lose the privilege of your freedom if you can't play nice with others. And so that's why it's so frustrating when I'm prosecuting someone and then they come in front of me for other cases. Then, you get the phone call, they really want to do better. Do they? Or are they just saying that because now they might have consequences? So we'll see what West has to say. Thomas Lester commented here, Royce West was out in front of the first instance, which is accurate. It's been 72 plus hours, crickets. I assume that they're gathering information, trying to figure out what's going on here. My guess is they won't fire him as a client, which attorneys do sometimes. Like, I've done it. where, I mean, there's ethical obligations. You can only do it at certain times and in certain ways. But for me, if I've got a client that won't follow my advice at all, what am I supposed to do? I can't help you. And I don't believe in taking money from people I can't help. And so I'm really curious to see what happens. If it turns out he wasn't there, I will do an apology that is just as loud as the tirade I just went on.
For everybody except for his lawyer, who waited a week to say that he wasn't there. If that happens, I would not.
Yeah, no, that would be
let that happen.
Please. I would not.
And I mean, in all honesty, hey y'all, we did some fact checking, we did some gathering. Am I good? Are the cameras on? He wasn't even there.
We know we'll have something to leave the show with on Tuesday. Let's take a break.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Zay Jones?
So here's what happened. As we know, Zay Jones got released. He is a free agent. Any agent, player working together would understand that, look, we need to create interest. We need to create some buzz, some excitement, all right? So let's get you here, all right? And then we're going to put their bid against their bid. What happened on Sunday night? Hey, swing back again. Swing back. Hey, I can be in town in a couple days. Let's just swing back. Let's swing back around. Swing back around. So, look, I think the conversations have been very productive. There's a good chance something could happen. You don't get on the plane if, as a free agent, if you don't think that team can match or beat what another team has offered. So things didn't work out with Tyler Boyd. They kind of sniffed around a couple guys.
That's also make call Zay Jones a burner.
Maybe similar system. It could happen.
Let me check on this water temperature here, Nate.
Okay.
Within that timeline, again, you mentioned Tyler Boyd. He was around the conversation. There was a little bit. I think it was Jeremy Fowler who had sort of a weird way of reporting connections between Odell Beckham Jr. and the Chiefs this year, because I think he said on both occasions the phrasing was the Chiefs were appealing to Odell. That word means two totally different things. Like, were they an appealing destination in his mind, or were they selling themselves to Odell saying, "Oh, come here, we're appealing to you"? But we've been talking about an extra receiver, and there was even, I think the lab guys were talking about it a while back that I keep forgetting to mention that, like, Brett Veach even talked about in some of the post-draft pressers, like looking at the receivers in the draft well after the Xavier Worthy pick. Do you get the feeling that the Chiefs' sense of urgency changed on as the Rashee Rice news was coming, or would these have been visits they would have been planning regardless?
Well, that's a great question. I can't say that these would have happened regardless of Sunday not occurring. This is the world and the reality we live in. And again, it's smart work by the agent and the player to be like, can we find some time to meet? You know, I hear you might have snaps to have.
Which is it's a big consideration for people signing this time of year.
Yes,
that's one thing with Chark. The way things look in LA right now, DJ Chark might get like 130 targets. With the Chargers. I mean, I get it. Tyler Boyd. Actually, I don't know what Tyler Boyd was thinking, so that actually can't.
Well,
really.
It's same coordinator who's now the head coach in Tennessee.
Right. Yep. Situation matters when you're going on these 1 year, $3 to $5 million deals.
Yes.
The hope is to get one more big payday. Like, that really is the deal, because you're looking to have that lifetime setup money for when you retire. And so you try to find a situation with the biggest payday possible next year. As well as, I mean, it obviously, like, if one team offers 1 million, one team offers 5 million, you're probably going to take the 5 million. But all other things being equal, situation matters. And that, so I'm sorry, I was just adding some context for that, because I don't think people consider that very often. They're like, oh, why didn't he sign with the Chiefs? Well, maybe they didn't think there'd be as many targets there. But now, if you're Zay Jones, it's like, I could have, like, what if I have, 500 yards in 8 games or 9 games or 10 games before someone comes back from suspension? I bet I could leverage that. Like, just, look how well I did in this larger role before things happened.
Yeah. And, it's a little bit of a, I think the Chiefs understand that they don't have to do something immediately, of course. Same goes for Zay Jones. They could have an understanding and sort of reconvene and say March, or not March, in June or July, obviously before training camp. Of course, there's a little bit of a negotiation tactic of, well, McCole Hartman is still a free agent, and McCole Hartman knows the system, and he's played with the Chiefs, for the majority of his career. He, as of right now, would be less of a demand on the market than Zay Jones. So you want to bring McCole Hartman back in training camp? Or do you want to maybe do Zay Jones in like mid to late June? If now, I think for a veteran, to some extent like Zay, because it is somewhat of a similar system going from Jacksonville to Kansas City, that, hey, you might want to be a part of the offseason program to some extent. So there's a little bit there's a little bit of an incentive there. Now the Chiefs have cap space, but of course, financially, how much are you willing to do now versus, having money available for, an in-season trade, which of course they've done for some time now. How much money do you want to roll over towards the next season salary cap? So there's all these things to consider, but that's my understanding of how this all came to be. It's like, hey, the Chiefs, I think, just well, Josh, answer me this question. Are the Chiefs, as of all the teams we know that he has visited, being Zay Jones, is this the best fit for him?
Yeah, because I think right now Justin Watson might be wide receiver 2 in week 1.
Well, there you go. So
this is the thing that I feel like we're all taking crazy pills, and everyone's like, no, those lunatics on the street corner. But like, there's a really, really, really reasonable path to first year Hollywood is definitely wide receiver 1. There's no doubt about that. First year in the NFL, Xavier Worthy, and both of those guys are, 115 pounds apiece or whatever. Again, I'm not worried about those guys being injury prone, but football's a physical sport. They play wide receiver.
Yep.
And then it's a bunch. I don't want to just nitpick on like one tweet that I got that I just thought was absolutely just a really unfortunately bad take. But as an exercise, somebody was like, no, like I tweeted about upgrading over Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. I think I might have been quote tweeting Seth. And somebody said, like, you gotta let him get some reps on the field. Like, let him play through it and then see what they got. That was last year. That was 2023. Right. They saw what they needed to see and got quite a few snaps, specifically out of Sky Moore. When you forgot that he took that many snaps, I forgive you for that because he never got the football. I also saw somebody tweeted something like insane about Sky Moore actually being like Patrick Mahomes' vision, not being willing to see Sky Moore when he gets open. So like you're gonna find the craziest stuff in the world on the internet. Yes. But yeah, and in fact, and Seth, I'm gonna sort of volleyball bump the same question over to you because it was Cody Alexander of Match Quarters who I think we
shout out to Cody,
all enjoyers and endorsers of.
Yes.
Cody knows ball.
He tweeted that Zay Jones is a quote outside burner and would give Kansas City another piece that adds speed to the core. Adding him would allow the Chiefs to use him in a targeted role behind Rice, Hollywood, and Worthy. He rates right above Kadarius Toney. Obviously, Rice, we expect, will not be a part of that equation for a good chunk of this season, most likely. So, Seth, I'll similar. You can take Nate's version of the question. You can take my version of the question. What is the urgency level / why would you not bring in Zay Jones if you were the Chiefs? I'm asking you to argue against your point, I guess, because I think that won't take you very long.
Sure. So why the only reason you wouldn't bring in Zay Jones would be if you don't think he's an upgrade over Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Justin Watson. Because as of right now, and I would say you would almost have to say isn't an upgrade over all three of them, or unless you have this otherworldly confidence in Justin Ross, who is the only X-type receiver they have on the roster. He's had some injury struggles. He's had some other stuff go on. When he's been on the field, he hasn't been particularly impactful. And that's why people still have hope for him, is because he hasn't been on the field that much. That's kind of how it works, right? That would be the only reason not to do it. It's not going to be cost prohibitive. It's going to be somewhere between $3 and $5 million this year. It would be we don't think this guy moves the needle at all. And I know, people talk all the time. I had someone say to me, like the way they framed the argument was, well, I don't think a Chiefs roster with Zay Jones, is a 13-win roster, whereas one without him is an 11-win roster. And that, I get where you're coming from to an extent. I think we've seen what a really low floor can do. And you just want to avoid that. And again, you're not wrong. Sky Moore saw the field, and this is just in the regular season, 495 snaps last year.
He was hurt at the end of the year.
Right.
Like that's heavily slanted to the first 2/3 of the season, first half of the season.
Yep. Yeah. His last playing time was week 14
against the Patriots, I believe. Yeah.
Yep, against the Patriots, and against Buffalo, his snap count had started to go down already. And the reality is he just never grabbed the role that they would have liked for him. Now you could argue about usage and that kind of stuff. Unless you think Andy Reid just didn't know how to use this guy the first 2 years of his career and is going to suddenly figure it out. It's going to be on the player to develop. And so so Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, neither of them are guys that line up on the line of scrimmage, on the boundary. Zay
They
Jones
either line up behind it or in front of it.
Yeah, there's no middle ground there. I knew
we were in range.
You're either a yard and a half behind the line of scrimmage, or God only knows what reason.
Just back up. Just back up a little, man. I'm trying to read the defense, dog. Just back it up.
You're someone who doesn't know how to look to your right before the ball is snapped. I mean, it's hard to rely on someone who doesn't know to look to your right.
And I also don't think that Zay Jones takes the Chiefs from an 11 to a 13-win team.
Of course not.
But Kadarius Toney, realistically, you could blame him for 2 losses last year.
Yes, you really can. Yes.
And this is me as a Kadarius Toney stockholder still. I am not. I'm still a little bit in.
You're not trying to push for a good outcome. You're trying to avoid a bad outcome. And Zay Jones is, I think, what you'd call a league average wide receiver 3.
Sure.
But you know what they don't currently have on the roster?
What's that, Seth?
A league average wide receiver.
Oh, well.
They don't. I mean, Xavier Worthy will be better than that. Well, we hope so. But I'll
tell you what, here's my bold stance. I do think that Xavier Worthy is going to have a better NFL career than Zay Jones. I don't know that he's going to be a better player in weeks 1 through 6. And that's somebody who loved the logic behind the Xavier Worthy pick. I just don't think it's that complicated.
And there's role as well. Again, you want a guy who can line up the wide receiver. It's kind of like what we said the last show. We said it Tuesday. MVS for a couple mil, I'd put him on this roster in a heartbeat. Someone who can line up on the boundary and run a bunch of 9 routes, get a good old workout. Do I think MVS would do that? No, I don't, because people have pride, and I understand that. Fair enough. But you can line up Zay Jones on the boundary, and that allows you to move around Brown and Worthy. It also allows you to not force Brown or Worthy into certain roles on certain snaps.
Yes, it lets you maximize the guys you are excited to have in your offense.
Yep, it's like, you can hide them by lining them up in trips. You can. Who's at the front of those trips? Do you want it to be 165-pound Xavier Worthy? Do you want it to be 170-pound Hollywood Brown? Or do you want it to be 200-some pound Zay Jones? Line that guy up front. Let him take the brunt of it. Now, obviously, Travis Kelce can be your X on some snaps. That's one of the things that makes him so valuable. But you don't want to rely on him to do it because he's old, guys. He's tired. Let the man just work the middle of the field. And so the role aspect there is important. And if you've got a guy that can eat up some of those line of scrimmage, kind of goofy type snaps or just some of those 9 routes and stuff, that means with Xavier Worthy, you are operating from a place of want rather than a place of need in how you utilize him, which it gives him the best chance of success and unfolding him into the offense like what you saw happen with Rashee Rice last year before, everything.
During the season when football was being played.
Yeah, during the actual football season when he did great. So it really is a matter of role, not just body count. Like if it's just body count, yes, I think Zay Jones is a little better, not like this huge leap better, but I think he's a little better than Justin Watson, and I think he's better than Tony and Moore. So that matters. But with wide receiver, it's not just about body count, it's about role. And that's where a guy like Zay Jones, that's why I kept saying DJ Chark. That's why I was kind of like, Tyler Boyd would be nice because he's a good slot receiver, but I don't know about the role. Zay can do that. And I think that's perfectly fine. And then it gives you an idea of, okay, you've got Brown, you've got Jones, you've got Worthy. I'm significantly more comfortable with that as your 3 than Brown, Watson, and Worthy, because like you said, that you're this close to that being the guy. That's the guy that's got to absorb it. And the thing with Justin Watson, when you get to the role thing, people might say, well, yeah, Justin Watson can line up on the sideline and take those boundary snaps. He absolutely can. But the problem is he can't really do anything else. And so when he's on the field, you have narrowed your options as a play caller, at least, and you've narrowed the way that the defense has to worry about you. Whereas with Zay Jones, again, not a world beater or anything like that, but he can have a little more of a varied role.
Okay. Gentlemen, are we in on Zay Jones, who as of right now is around 200 pounds, 6'2", 29 years old?
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Who else you can read the stats?
What is about to happen to me?
I think I think I know.
The Chiefs have $13 million in cap space as of right now, according to Over the Cap. Now, Zay Jones basically paid on cap, AYV, roughly made around $14 to $15 million with the Jaguars over the last 2 years. What deal are you giving Zay Jones, who, as of right now, I haven't heard has left the building? Let's just be honest.
What were your stats there real quick so I can validate what I thought was happening?
Zay Jones, 6'2", about 200 pounds, 29 years old.
My where I thought we were headed there is 6'4", 206, 29 years old is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So look, I just thought you're about to try to make that happen again.
Guys, I understand I was not well received the last time the last time I mentioned that Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who you see in this offense, yes, ladies and gentlemen, is still available. That is a mystery I'm not trying to solve today.
We can always sign him in December.
To answer your question, Nate, I'd give Zay Jones $4 million and whatever incentives he wants. Whatever.
4 up to 7.
Sure. 4 up to 50. I don't it's not gonna,
no.
You know what I mean? I don't care.
You technically can't do that, Josh.
Tyler Boyd signed a 1-year deal worth up to 4.5. DJ Chark signed a 1-year up to 5. So you say, hey, we'll give you a one that's actually $3 million, but you're up to $5 million.
Give him the Odell contract. Yeah. It was even higher than that, right?
Yeah, give him a chance. And then, if you catch 80 passes, we'll give you a $2 million bonus. Fine. What do I care?
80 catches? 80?
But so, I mean, that's one thing about the wide receiver market cooling down. That's kind of why I was bothered with the Chark Boyd signings. They really don't carry much of a downside. Because they're not.
And I'm not sure Zay Jones would have been any of our first choices here, right? We're at a point now where it's given who's available, closing time. It's all right, Zay Jones.
Yeah.
You, ma'am. You, ma'am. Can I get you a beverage of choice?
Quit looking at me like that. I know you hear that music too. Quit acting like beggars can be choosers. let's just be honest with each other here.
We're gonna keep the party going. That's right. Somewhere else.
This. I get it. You gesture to yourself. I understand, but I'll amuse you a little. And I've done worse. So,
you're gonna have a lovely
that's the closing time
tomorrow.
spiel. And with Zay Jones,
a lovely breakfast. The breakfast is gonna be amazing.
You get to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes.
Just stay with me.
Did you know I have an omelet maker at my house?
Hey.
You know those waffle makers that you can only get in hotels? I got one. Actually, no, that would you'd have been snapped up much earlier in the evening if you had one of those at your house. I would have a T-shirt that says that.
I have a waffle maker at home. I was thinking the exact same thing. Just show up to a bar. We've got Only Weird Games merch. Totally unrelated to the game of football. I just want a T-shirt that just says, I have a waffle maker at home, which is true for me. I'll just wear it around the house. But then you, bachelors and bachelorettes, can wear that out and find love. And eventually you're going to see somebody else wearing that shirt and then you think, we can have 2 waffle makers at home? Love.
Unbelievable.
You're welcome.
So many waffles.
Unbelievable.
You can use my waffle maker at home as soon as we're married, right, Seth?
Well, yes, within the confines of a loving marriage. There's an asterisk on all of that. Whenever I say these things, but you don't lead with that at the club at closing time. You mumble it. It's like, hey, you know what? You and me. What do you think in the confines of loving marriage? It's kind of you kind of trail it off there.
Just know that when you leave this bar with me, you will meet my mother very, very soon.
She's actually outside.
So the confines of marriage can occur.
But anyway, so Zay Jones, he's the best option that's remaining because he can line up on the boundary. He can give you 500-600 snaps. It's not going to be elite play. It's not even going to be particularly good play. He's not super consistent, but it's better than what they have. And again, I'm just trying to raise the floor of the room, man. He's
still in the building.
Don't want to rely.
Seth. He's
and
still
hey,
in the building.
Just offer it to him, then I'll just review his film and I can write about something besides things that upset me.
He's still in the building, Seth. Give it time.
Yeah. Hey, do you want Patrick Mahomes to throw you the ball this year, or what are the other teams he visited?
The Jets, the Cowboys. Was it the Texans at one point? Not the Texans. The Titans at one point. There's a lot of teams.
Yeah, the Titans have signed their guy. The Cowboys only throw to CeeDee Lamb, and Jerry Jones calls the plays. And Aaron Rodgers is gonna be someone's vice presidential candidate. Who else are you gonna? And now again, we're back to the closing time. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but I'm looking around the room here. Let's just be honest with one another.
Let's just be honest.
It's not. It's just me. It's me.
Look,
I'm the guy. I'm it.
Look, playing for the Cowboys does have, it's an interesting option.
All right, I'll go ahead and take the ball back there then, because speaking of somebody who I think has a waffle maker at home, if you know what I mean, you were there at rookie minicamp, Nate, and we can combine both of our next 2 topics because you got to look at and hear from Louis Rees-Zammit, who, as I've maintained, I think at some point this show in the middle of the offseason is going to do a top 5 handsomeness ranking or something, and I want him in that draft. I don't know if he can play American football or not yet, but I know he's got boyish good looks and the charm with it, Nate. Best accent you've ever heard at the podium, I imagine?
Not even close. I mean,
I can't imagine who else would be contending there.
It's Jerick McKinnon has a very distinct voice, and so he always gets a bit of praise and love from me on that standpoint. But no, guy came up to the microphone and was just, the charm meter was out of control. Okay, now what you want to see in rookie minicamp is don't get hurt. And please show that you have some football talent, because I cannot stress how bad these practices are, ladies and gentlemen. They are so bad. At least Chris Oladukin had thrown to Louis Rees-Zammit. He hadn't thrown to many of these other guys because obviously Louis was at Camp Mahomes for the first phase of the OTA or offseason program period. Kingsley looks great. I can't evaluate any of this. None of these defensive linemen will be in the NFL. sadly. All right, let's look at Wiley.
Tall? Can you confirm?
That guy was the most consistent baller they had out there. My God.
Let's go.
If Jared Wiley can be something this year, kids, let's just say, I want to see him with the A team. I want to see him on varsity because the junior varsity.
With pads on.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, obviously. I mean, come on. But
all right. Buzzkill. Reminding everybody that these practices happen without pads on. Fair enough.
But I do want to see, he's done well with the JV squad. Let's bring him up to the varsity and see how he hangs.
Seth, to that point, it really might be important to watch Red Zone Lewis in pads, considering the sport he played didn't have them.
Yes.
Yeah, that could mean anything.
So, watching Xavier Worthy, once he got real comfortable on Sunday, and especially Monday, the last day of the rookie minicamp, watching him run routes next to all the other receivers running routes, me and PJ Green from Fox 4 just made noises. Just, ooh, one of these guys knows how to run routes. Ooh, coach.
Are you sure?
Stop asking him to run the same route, coach. Stop asking it because it's such a disparity.
Oh,
yeah.
That makes me kind of sad. That's got to be awkward. Like for the guys that are kind of hoping to make it in the league, and then you're running the route right after the guy who was just a first-round pick.
Yep.
And he's faster than you. He's quicker than you. He also has 3 years of extensive starting experience at a major program. And it's like, hey, run a whip route. And he runs the appropriate amount of steps before the stop and turn and pivots his hips. And you're just like, what's a whip route? I went to an RPO school, coach. That's got to be tough. But Nate, you got to tell the readers, I saw on the internet that he dropped a pass. So
the first day was awful. I'll just be frank. Xavier Worthy's first day was probably the worst first day I've ever seen out of a first round rookie rookie mini camp. It was so bad. And then
How bad was it?
So bad. Almost like, hey man, are you here? You we're watching this, right? The coaches got on him a little bit. He dropped some passes. He did line up in the appropriate places. He got mushed by Trill Williams. And then the next day he cooked Trill Williams. So I mean, it's a learning process. He was really bad on day one. I even think he would agree with that by his standards. And then he had a really nice day 2, and then he was excellent in day 3. And of course,
that's what you want to see, except for the awful part. But you want to see someone. You want to see someone bounce back. I'm glad he had a crappy first day, if I'm being perfectly honest. And this isn't me just trying to slant it. Get that out of the way. Now, if he has a bunch of bad days, fair enough. That's not good.
Right.
But you bounce back from it. Oh wow, I'm seeing all this for the first time. You know what? Maybe he was nervous. He's 21.
Yeah. Fair. All fair.
Rashee Rice barfed during his first one.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
Well, he's probably drunk from the night before.
Oh, come on!
Oh,
I mean, just
wow. He'd commuted up from Lit Kitchen.
I am woozy. Is somebody counting to 10? What? Get up, Nate. Get up.
That's not fair. I'm sorry.
Woo! Woo! Okay.
Sorry.
Now listen. Seth thought he went through defense attorney Seth, prosecutor Seth, dad Seth. It took 58 minutes, and then petty Seth was like, "You know what? I do have one more thing to say."
I'm kind of petty in how I parent my older children, so I mean, it kind of folds right in. It's like, oh, that really stupid decision you made didn't work out, huh?
Right.
So
and you could be Rashee Rice's granddad, and so we all understand that.
So Luis is very fast. I'm not saying anything new. Luis, I really wish his name was Luis. It's Louis.
I wish it was Louis. I keep getting
Louis.
It's like Saint. But if we could call him Saint Louis, maybe we do. Maybe we try to take it back. Not St. Dot. Maybe it's SAINT.
Yeah.
But all right, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, Rees-Zammit, very fascinating character. Again, the charm meter's out of control. I mean, don't put this guy next to ladies from the Midwest who have not heard this accent in person. My goodness.
Wow.
Now
You
look,
have to wear a visor
now look, he's
and a mouthpiece all the time.
all the time. He's an incredible athlete, because I can't imagine how awkward I would look trying a sport for the first time in front of people. Like, guys, I don't think you understand how hard it's going to be for him to A, make the roster, and B, have a smooth transition. Now, with that said, he just about caught everything. So he has good hands. His running style, as I wrote in The Athletic, is so unique. It is so rugby. As Andy Reid said, and I basically tipped my cap after I asked Coach about it. I'm like, what's he like? You know, what you learning? And so me and Matt Derrick, I believe, tag team the questions to Andy Reid, and Andy Reid's like, yeah, he'll figure out the pad level once he gets hit. And we were like, yes,
like a threat.
Yes.
That does sound like a threat.
It was not even a threat. Like, it was like foretelling. It was like his nice way of saying, oh, he will be broken in half at one point, and then 2 weeks later he's going to come back with a vengeance.
You know, he's going to say one of two first names. First day pads are on in camp when it's some kind of one-on-one drill. And those two first, well, no, three actually. He's going to say Leo, Nick, or Drew, and he's going to have one of them run over.
Yep.
And Mr. Handsome is going to get folded like a lawn chair, and then he'll have lower pad level. Maybe do it with Drew, man. Those other guys, like Leo's like the size of a defensive end. Like
I do think it'll be probably Drew Tranquil, and a little bit of, if he really wants to learn, I think the most technical blitzer that the Chiefs have is Justin Reed.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you really want to get technical about, like, here's why pass protecting is so important, here's Justin Reed. Here's just Justin Reed destroying you.
Or make it insulting and let Trent McDuffie do it. Because we've seen Trent fold guys.
No.
Trent is significantly, because I'm doubting he's ever been really smacked by a guy that much smaller than him. And we've seen Trent do that to people. That would be kind of funny. Be like, hey, why don't you right here? You know, just, hey, Trent, I'm going to need you to go ahead and, you know, normally we do about 80%. I want you to do about 101%. Hey, remember what you did to Debo in the slot? I want you to do that to him. It's a life lesson. Then help him up and be really polite about it. Sure. And maybe he runs right through it, and we're like, ooh.
I'll tell you what, if that happens, then that'll lead the next episode. That clip will be on loop in my head.
So here's where we stand. Louis is going to be, I think, at every practice this offseason. So he's professional. He's been a professional since he was a teenager. He is very much dedicated to this. This does not appear to be some gimmick to him. You can tell he's got good strength. Look at his legs. From a photography standpoint, and you're like, okay, those legs can stay. Like, I'm not worried about lower body. I'm mostly worried about upper body, obviously the attrition of the sport, and how quickly he can translate his rugby skills to being an NFL player. Because the best way for him to do that, as Seth cries,
Seth's really trying not to make a joke right now.
He really is.
Know what it is.
You might as well just start crying because you can't get it out. The thing that they didn't do, which I know is intentional, is, you know, we have these new kickoff rules, and we didn't see that part yet. So
Dave is not going to show that off at all.
They're going to put a tarp over the field at training camp, dude. There's
they're gonna run like inside zone from the kickoff or something. Like this, it really, when you look at how it like plays out, you can run actual football plays from this. Like, I'm so curious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dave is like gonna get such a raise if he does well with this, or maybe that's got to be hard to adapt to. It's so different than anything they've ever done.
I'm not predicting this, but there's a chance that Dave Tobe, excellent at this version of NFL special teams, runs into this and he's like, oh, maybe you want the young special teams coordinator with an offense background or whatever. Like, it's not guaranteed to just benefit the Chiefs because we think that they've got good special teams coaching. I think it probably will, but
like, do you put the offensive lineman out there?
You
You could.
It'll be the most
put all
interesting
10
thing.
offensive linemen out there, dude. And then what? Yes, you've got 8 offensive linemen.
It's
9
fine too.
offensive
I
linemen.
I want
would
two
be
sides
Jared
nine.
Wiley,
Yeah.
and throw Kadarius Toney in the back and say, look, man, let's see what happens. This has potential to be incredible.
Yeah.
KT and LRZ. I mean, come on.
But as everybody probably heard or read, there was one, I think, play action to the right screen, perfectly timed block by, some of your rookie offensive linemen. Made a little jitter, got a little jitter, and then them feet got to be real happy feet, but with speed. And it was something. It really was. So if he catches the ball consistently and he transitions to the playbook, the snap count, the formations, the protection schemes, the pre-snap
If he learns how to football.
Yeah, I mean that's the craziest thing. It's like just imagine if you watched cricket since you were like a teenager and you were athletic enough that they were like, you know what, we'll let you into like essentially the international draft, and then one of the cricket teams picked you and like now you're gonna play cricket. It's not baseball, Jack. That's the equivalent of what he's trying to do. It's similar-ish, but it's not. It's really not. It's not even close. And I'm so glad on his first quote, he said, I'm just so excited to be with the boys, and this is completely different.
We should have a conversation about the running back room later, too, because I was just doing some running through some mental gymnastics about the state of that group still. And I hope Louis is good. I hope he gets on the field a little bit, because this team could use some depth there. But we have given you plenty of depth over the course of this show today. We're over an hour, means I'm not gonna have time for off-season lessons. I gotta go get ready to go see Death Cab for Cutie and the Postal Service. So I'm gonna go give myself bangs again and let you guys finish the show.
Seth, have you heard Louis speak?
I have not. I'm actually afraid to listen to it because.
Please give it a listen.
So
Please.
Jazz
I'm
has.
gonna send a clip to Jazz.
Jazz has one. No, don't do that. She has one weakness, and it's a very specific accent, and I'm afraid.
You should be, man. Because
Seth here with the consequences of his own actions. That's interesting.
Because
I only want that for other people. I don't want that for me. That sounds horrible.
A reporter across the pond was like, "Hey, man, when you're not in your hotel looking at the playbook, how you enjoying Kansas City, Louis?" And Louis was like, "Guys, come on. I could not be outside. There's no way. There's no way I could be this handsome, this charming, this sophisticated, and not be in my playbook 24/7." And I said,
so
"Come on, son."
He's the Ryan Gosling of the NFL now, where it's just like married women are like, I need to get away from this man immediately, lest I break my sacred vows.
Can we just get him on Westport? Can we just get him at the Legends? Can we just get
just
Luis
walking up to people randomly, just saying
downtown
hello
at PNL? He said I say mate like it's like I say mate all the time, like yeah, and then everybody laughs, and I'm like, just go to the bars, man. Just go to the bars, but stay healthy. Stay healthy.
It's going to be a versatile role for me. I'm hoping, the coaches are very creative here, so see what.
Oh my goodness! Get out of here with that. This is ridiculous.
And he looks better than he sounds, Seth. He looks better than he sounds. It's over for all of us if he's good at football.
Yes. Young single men in Kansas City.
It's a wrap.
Apologies.
It's a wrap.
It's over.
You got Travis Kelce out the game, and then this guy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, then this guy finally.
If Louis looks at your girl, it's over. Okay.
I'll let you know what Jazz
Find
says.
some indoor